We are going to jump back in to where we left off. But a quick recap for those who didn't make it to last week. We're doing a journey through building a e-commerce store. So we started off with the PRD.opg.ai. If you haven't used this tool, it's free to use. It's one that I built for myself, and it seems to work for a lot of folks. You just put in your app idea, and it generates a product requirements document. And then we went over to v0.dev in this case, because we hadn't done one of those in a video for a while. And we gave it the PRD that came from this. We just copied and pasted it in, and it built this framework for a little e-commerce store. It doesn't have images yet, but it built this framework. And then we pulled this store down from v0 using GitHub. So we linked it up to GitHub, pulled it down locally. And last week we were playing around with Kiro. I don't have that open for today's conversation, but we were playing with Kiro, and we pulled that down, set it up to deploy, and deployed it here on Railway. And so it is currently running on Railway so we can continue building. And there was a task list that we had put together here, and we accomplished 2 of the tasks. And now we need to proceed forward with getting the rest of this store set up. We'll continue on through the tasks to finish building this out. I thought today that we might see together how Gemini 2.5 Flash is behaving for coding today, to give it a try and let you see some of the behavior differences so you can cross compare with any of the other videos. We have last week's videos here. You can go in and see those part 1, 2, 3, and 4 if you want to catch up to where we are. We post all of these classes up here on YouTube as well. You can get all of them and catch up and rewatch things that might have flown by too fast. The first thing that I see when I look at this based on last week's status is we have a database with nothing in it. If we go over here to the application, this is open in Windsurf right now. You will use a similar process if you're using Windsurf or Cursor or Kilo Code or Augment Code. Anything like that is going to be about the same. You have your Git source control over here. If we go over here to the files and we look at, let's see, down here, last week we set up some database initialization scripts and some product seeding right here. And this is just to match what is hard-coded into the site right now. We're going to change that out and connect to the database so we can have these products in the database. And you'll notice here that it uses a placeholder SVG, and that is what Vercel put together for us. These images won't really exist in production once we get built out so we can upload product changes to the system. These would be ephemeral SVGs, and we want to replace them with real images. We are going to explore ImageKit for hosting our images. That way we can do that really nice and easily, and we don't have to worry about scalability of our image storage in case this store got big. All right. And I'll show you what I mean by that as well. What we're going to do first is take a look at these two. These scripts look like they're ready to be run. When you have scripts like this, you can do a couple different things. One, you could attempt to run them directly, and that's what we're going to do right here. We're going to try to run them directly, and depending on how that behaves, we may go ahead and build out a database migration system. But I want to see what they do directly first and see how well the AI did with building those. And we're trying to stay mostly out of hand coding this. We're trying to do all of this with AI so that people can see how that works. So sometimes we'll find that a script is written incorrectly and we have to go debug that, but that's what we'll do. We would need a command that looks like this with our database URL right there. And that's going to be, I'm just showing you the syntax of it so you can use this directly. And this is important because if you can run your database migrations this way, it's really fast. If your app doesn't play nice with it, that's fine. You can do it the slow way and have the AI do it. But this is really fast if you can. This would be the script format. And you get your database URL over here. We are in Railway right here. You go to variables and you have your database URL and you'll just copy that, put it in. I've already prepared these for today. We're going to copy these over, drop this here, and see if we can run that. And now when we go over here, we should see that we have all of our tables. So those have been pushed out to the database. And then we are going to copy the next script over. Now this one is the seed the products. This is going to put the products in. If we look here at our products, it is empty. We're going to attempt to put those in. Put that there. Does not seem that we ran into any big issues, and now we have products right there. We have set up our database real fast to have those products. Of course, the seed scripts here, the initialization script and the seed script we did last week when we were going through our task list. We set that up last week. They were ready to run today. All right, let's run this locally and just take a look at it. Do npm run dev for this one. And here it is on our local machine right there. Not much has changed. We just connected up the database. Now over here in our env, we have this enable real database. So I've added that database up here. And for the sake of your applications, probably don't record your env file. This is all basically demo stuff. I throw it away after the demos. I'm not too worried about it, but definitely try to keep your env files protected if you can. We're going to go ahead and enable this and save it. And let's go ahead and turn it off and restart it and see if it runs into errors pulling up the database. Doesn't seem so. Okay, all of our stuff is still here. Now, this had hard-coded product, and last week we built it so that it would fail over to hard-coded and use the database if we enabled that flag. Let's go over here and see if it has actually enabled the database or not. A real quick way to check that for yourself is to go into any one of these. And we are just, let's take a look at, so we have the sale price right here, $39.99. Let's see if I double click on that. If I change that to 98 and save it, does it? It doesn't like the image. We'll take the image out. It doesn't like me editing it at all. It seems like the configuration was not entirely correct in the database seeding. So that's a different problem to solve. Let me show you how we would solve that. You are going to get to see a cool little tool here. We have a whole session in YouTube here on MCPs, all of this stuff about MCPs. So if you want to look into that to bring yourself up to speed with MCPs, do that. But I built an MCP that lets me talk to the database. So we're going to talk to the database and fix it. We ran the, let's give it the context. Seed products script. It put the products in the database. I want to be able to edit them in the, but there are some errors. To start with, please use the MCP to view the database. The URL is the local. All right, and this is going to trigger this little MCP server right here, Postgres Inspector. And it's going to look at the database and it will list the tables. And what this tool does, this is an MCP, it allows the AI to see everything in the database. So we don't have to guess, the AI doesn't have to guess, nothing like that has to happen. Okay. So now it has everything necessary to understand what's going on in the database. We're going to go back over here and try to make a change and copy that error over. Now, this is something you want to watch really close. It may try to fix just for this error and not the universal issue that seems to be happening where everything errors. Let's see what it says. See if we need to rerun this seed products. All right. But it looks like it's pinpointing it down to maybe an error with the database editor here in Railway. Let's try this. We are using the in Railway, but can you just change the price of the, what is the name of this? This is really a test of the Postgres MCP tool. Here it is. If you want to use the tool, it's right there. I've pasted it in the chat. Just put it in your MCP servers, and it'll pull it right down to your computer, and you can use this directly. All right. But we want to change the sale price from $39.99 to $39.98. And let's see if it will use the Postgres tool since I didn't tell it to, or if it will get confused and try to write a file. What you're seeing here is Windsurf's planning mode. I have that turned on here. Okay, this is a feature in the Postgres tool. It lets you review changes before you execute them if it's going to change the database. And then it will execute those changes. And let's see if it went ahead and updated that for us here. Refresh the page. There's that update. We basically are able to talk directly with the database using that MCP tool. So definitely put that into your utility pack. Oh, the reason we wanted to change that price was to check and see if our pricing was actually connected here. And it does not appear that our product pricing is connected in either version, the local or the live. What this tells us is that we need to debug the database connection. So we're going to double check that I did this part right. Went in here and set the database to true. All right, we enabled the real database, set it to true. So we're going to go over here and debug this. I have enabled the real database, the env local. I don't see the content changes in the database appearing on the front end. Look and see why do not make changes. If we need to plan a simple log output so we can see if the connection is working right. Okay. But most of the time when you have this sort of situation where the file system is supposed to connect to the database and so I mentioned at the beginning of the call, we're using Gemini just to see how it behaves. This is a common thing I see happen with Gemini. It goes to use a tool, and instead of sending the tool command, it just writes it as text. And once it starts doing that, it generally is not going to behave for the next 20, 30 minutes. It's one of the reasons I don't use it a ton, but I like to try different stuff on these calls so you can see how they behave and how to react to them if they don't behave properly. So we're going to click confirm. I'm going to pop over here. I just reverted that, and we are going to change models. Let's go to Claude Sonnet 4. Resend the message. I see your comment. It does sound like fun. This is the exciting part of AI or any sort of coding, but AI coding here is debugging connections and doing it efficiently. I want to do that as fast and easily as possible because these are the same things that all of you are going to run into with any app you build. You're going to try to get something connected. It's going to go weird. It happens to everybody. This is how you get around it real fast. All right. So it says it can see the issue, but it can only see half of the issue. It's checking all of the code to see if we got it built correctly. If I recall correctly from last week, we were using Kiro for this, and I think it ran into a small error. Even though it checked off this task, I think it ran into an error. So it's possible something didn't fully get built out as intended along our plan here. Okay, it's confirming its findings and updating a plan. We're using the plan feature here. It just makes it think a little more. You don't have to use that, but I find it sometimes is a bit more accurate. The home page fetches products directly. So I'm guessing if the home page does, the shop page does as well. It's probably using the same process. Okay, let's go ahead and do change our imports here and then do debugging if it's not working. Please change the imports and nothing else. Send that over. There we go. Let's take a quick look here on this one. It's a front end change. I still like to do restarts real fast in between. Doesn't take any time at all. And we are connected. So we can see that that new price is here. And if we go to our shop, we can see that we're not connected. So we're going to say, check the shop page for the same issue. Check the shop page for the same issue. And that is the process to quickly debug a connection issue and make sure that your database content is showing on the front of these sites, because it is, and there's our updated price. It is very common for AI building tools to put in mock content and never actually connect that. And if you don't go and change something about the content and then be on purpose about checking for that change, you might get well into a build and never realize that most of what you're seeing is fake. And then you spend a lot more time debugging what's fake versus tackling it right away. And then as you go forward, you're going to be able to carry that working connection forward through the rest of your build.
Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and follow. And if you need help building or finishing your app, click the link in my bio to book a one-on-one Zoom call to take a look at your project.